I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Can we stand for Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That moves us to roll call. Let it be noted that all 9 members of the board are here. Agenda item 2, public comment. Is there any public comment in the room? This is limited at first to just agenda items. There's a public comment at the end for other items. Anyone here for public comment? Is there anyone online, Seth? We're okay? Number 3, our first presentation, high school musical. Yesterday, my wife Denise and I had the pleasure of attending a full dress rehearsal of Act 1 of Pottsgrove Theater Company's production of Fiddler on the Roof. It's really worth seeing. The musical deals with several themes that are as relevant today as they were when the stories that the play was based on were written. Themes like tradition, culture, religion, and change. Denise and I were impressed with the depth of theatrical talent that exists among the teachers and the students of this smaller school district. Hi, Jana. The talent was evident among both the leadership, the cast, the crew, and the support staff of this production, who are the people who all work together to make magic happen. I encourage everyone to go see the production this coming Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, March 20, 21, and 22. And we're honored tonight to have a lot of members of the leadership and the cast with us to entertain and to entice us with some of the songs from the musical. Amy McMahon is leading this, and Amy is our high school choral director. And Amy, I don't know if you want to introduce others, but I turn it to you.
All right, good evening. My name's Amy McMahon. You've probably seen me before around here. I am here at the high school. I am the vocal director for our musical as well as the producer. Behind me, I have both of our directors. So Mrs. Sarah Fritz Schaefer is our director. This is her fourth, as well as Sierra Nee Feckelman, now Clemmer. She is a Pottsgrove alum who has come back as our assistant director, and we are really, really lucky to have both of them on our team. So excuse our appearance. We've been here since the start of the school day. We had 2 previews this morning at the high school in addition to yesterday's 4-hour practice and a preview yesterday. So we had both of our high school previews during school for our 2nd and 3rd period. What else did we do? Oh, we did social media today. We had a 4-hour practice. They just scarfed some pizza down, and now we are here. So we're in for the long haul, but they're really, really excited. They're trucking along really great, and we're really excited to share all their hard work in the next couple of weeks with you. So without further ado, we're going to share the first half of our opening number called Tradition.
Simple, pleasant tune, without breaking his neck. It isn't easy. You may ask, why do we stay if it's so dangerous? We stay because Anatevka is our home. And how do we keep our balance? That I can tell you in one word. Tradition! Tradition, 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 tradition. traditions, we've kept our balance for many, many years. Here in Anatevka, we have traditions for everything. How to eat, how to sleep, how to wear clothes. For instance, we always keep our heads covered, and we always wear our little prayer shawls. This shows our constant devotion to God. You may ask, how did these traditions start? And I'll tell you. I don't know. But it's tradition. Because of our traditions, everyone knows who he is and what God expects him to do. Who day and night must scramble for a living, feed a wife and children, say his daily prayers, and who has the right as master of the house to have the final word at home. The Papa, tradition, the Papa, tradition.
Who must know the way to make a proper home, a quiet home, a kosher home? Who must raise a family and run the home, so Papa's free to read the holy book?
The Mama, tradition, the Mama, tradition. At 3 I started Hebrew school, at 10 I learned a trade. I hear they picked a bride for me, I hope she's pretty. The stars, tradition, the stars, tradition.
And who does Mama teach to mend and tend and fix, preparing me to marry whoever Papa picks?
The daughters, I have 5 daughters. Tradition, the daughters, tradition. Day and night must journey for a living, feed wife and children, say daily prayers and trace the right eyes, must lay a house to the right for me, I hope.
Papa's free to read the holy
Tradition, the Papas, tradition.
No questions. I haven't seen the show, so this is a new show for me, so I'm very excited. I'll be there Thursday. For everyone watching at home, let's turn up and sell this place out all 3 nights. These guys are fantastic, and they deserve our energy and our appreciation, and I'm excited to be there. So, and you have one other member of your team to introduce. Yes. Yeah.
Miss Bean behind us, she is a retired Pottsgrove teacher. She always gets mad at me when I make a fuss about her, so that's why. But this is the amazing Miss Bean. She's with us. She's our amazing pianist, and we love her very much.
I mentioned I was at the dress rehearsal yesterday, and I was talking to Ms. Bean, the pianist. The full orchestra, the orchestra was not there, so they were practicing in full dress with just the pianist, and she was doing all these trills on the piano, and I was walking with her in the hall, and she said to me, well, the orchestra's not here, so I have to play more than what I usually play. You were good. Yeah, just really, really talented. I encourage people to see the show. You may have heard just from the words of the song these themes of tradition, a theme of culture, a theme of religion, and a theme of change. And while it's an old play, it is so relevant to the types of themes we're dealing with in life today and with this world today. Themes of tradition, culture, religion, and change. It's really worth seeing.
Thank you.
My daughter loves seeing you guys Monday too. She's like, we gotta go, Mom.
Thank you. That moves us to agenda item 3.2, our audit presentation. And I turn it over to Chris Turtell from Irvine and Company, who are our local auditors.
All right, good evening, everyone. Ms. Krim might be a little disappointed. I will not be singing. I really don't like when I do these presentations after something as fabulous as that. Like, it sets the bar way too high to have to go through some mundane audit stuff here, but very important stuff here for the district. So if you can go to the next slide. Yes, maybe. There we are. All right. So as was mentioned, my name is Chris Turtell. I'm a partner with Irvine and Company, and I'm in charge of the Pottsgrove. We're going to talk about the 2024 year-end audit. We'll do a brief introduction. We'll talk about the audit reports itself, a little analysis on financial highlights, uniform guidance, that's the federal programs for the district, and then also some communications from us as auditors. Next slide. Brief introduction. We just like to remind our school districts and our clients that we audit under 3 different standards at the school district. Our normal generally accepted auditing standards, which is the same if you're a for-profit, nonprofit, very similar audit process. We have government auditing standards, or yellow book, and that's looking at internal controls over financial reporting. So cash disbursements, payroll, reconciliations, those type items. And then lastly, uniform guidance, which I said is called single audit. That's your federal programs that we look at. And our responsibility as auditors is to give 2 opinions. One is on the financial statement itself in relation to how materially correct it is to GAAP, or generally accepted accounting principles. And the second is an opinion on the compliance on internal controls and compliance with the direct and material compliance requirements for whatever federal program we tested. And this year, it actually was the child nutrition cluster, or your school lunch and breakfast programs. Happy to report 2 unmodified opinions, so clean audit opinions. One of the only professions where something that starts with an "on" is actually a good thing, right? So usually you don't think that's a positive connotation, but here, unmodified opinions, so clean audit opinions on both the financial statements and on the federal program that we tested. Some quick budget to actual analysis of the results of 2024. Really just a snapshot here of budget to actual. I'm going to focus on the middle column, the last bar in orange here. The district ended 2024 with a surplus of a little over $4 million, $4,033,000, and we'll see that most of that is actually generated through additional revenues over budget, not on the expenditure side of the ledger. The next page will show us on the revenue side where it is. So right here we can see the district budgeted for a little over $73 million in revenue, received a little under $78 million, $77,680,000. So a surplus of about $4.4 million from your total revenue side of the ledger. Most of that coming from local sources, and really 3 in particular. Real estate taxes, really interim taxes. So a lot of building and lower, some large interim real estate taxes actually coming through in 2024. The second was earned income tax. Earned income tax continues to exceed budgeted amounts. We were a little under $1 million, about $920,000 over budget on earned income tax. And lastly, interest income. So this was the year that when you put your budget together, everybody was predicting 0.5% interest, and we ended up at 4% interest somewhere along the way. All right, so everybody enjoyed a nice year of a pretty healthy, positive fund balance, or positive balance here with interest income. A little over $1 million over budget on interest income. Timing-wise, on the state subsidy side, district received a little extra basic ed and special education subsidy. So that was a little over budget. And lastly was access revenue on the federal side. The district budgeted $200,000, but pulled down about $500,000. So overall, $4.4 million. If you remember, I said a $4 million surplus. Most of it comes right here from the revenue side of the ledger. On the expenditure side, a little small on the board here, but expenses were 2.2% over budget. If I take the budgetary reserve into consideration, which is actually below the line here, but that actually brings you within $345,000 of budget on a $70 million expenditure budget. So I'm going to say that's pretty close. Some ups and downs. Special education, and really kind of ties into transportation too a little bit on the charter school side of things. Some outplacements there also, which kind of affect both the special education line and your transportation line. Contracted services, again, that's our transportation, also on the administration side. A little stopgap measure there with the MCIU coming in and helping out. And overall salaries and benefits, you might see that favorable of 800,000. Think that's a pretty large number. It's actually less than 2% of your total salaries and benefits. So you're within 2% of total salaries and benefits budgeted this year. Again, really pretty close to where you want it to be. So where does this leave us? Overall, the school district has a fund balance of about $26,401,000, and that's your reserve. Of that reserve, the district has made various commitments for certain purposes. So $18 million has been reserved for future PSERS costs, compensated absences, other post-employment benefits. We have vocational education, and then we also have a bucket for capital projects of a little over $9.5 million. The assigned fund balance represents the deficit for 24-25, which was minimal, very small deficit for 24-25's budget that was passed. And then the unrestricted unassigned fund balance, and that's your true reserve of a little under $8 million. We do have capital projects, and I always got to remind everybody this is June 30th, 2024 numbers. So when I talk about what monies we have outstanding for capital projects, and I say we have $6 million from transfers at your capital reserve, and there was a little over $5 million in unspent bond proceeds that were on hand in June. However, I'm going to guess there's not $5 million in unspent bond proceeds probably still on hand at this point in time, with some of the construction that was still going on over the summer at that point. Just tying that together here, you have a policy to keep at least 5% of next year's expenditures in your unassigned fund balance, and you're well exceeding that at this point in time. You may notice that dip in 2023. That's when you created as a board that bucket for capital projects. That $9.5 million didn't exist in that bucket before 23. And I will say that I know Mr. Linke, and we'll probably be working with the board, Dr. Finnerty, in deciding, whether we need to move some of this fund balance into those commitments, whether it be for capital or what it's going to be going forward. Food service, this was 24 was actually the first year of your CEP program. So we moved into the community eligibility provision. We saw a little bit of a shift. You'll see the top line food service revenue dropped from 23 to 24, and then you'll see the increase above the second blue line, federal sources, where we got more reimbursement from the federal government. So kind of a do-si-do there, kind of went from the top line and then back into the federal sources line. But again, community eligibility provision. So this was the first year that everybody was eligible then for free lunch. And the district got reimbursed about 73% of all meals that were served were considered to be free reimbursement from the federal government. Overall, we ended up with about $214,000 surplus in food service this year. Increase in revenue was offset by then the increase in food costs, like everybody has seen, but maintaining a fund balance of about $845,000, which is the bottom left-hand line, and that's about 5 months worth of operating costs. We want to see at least 3 there. Usually, Department of Ed looks at that and says anything over 3, they like you to have some kind of a plan on what you're going to be spending that money on. And I'm sure that's something the district you can take into consideration going forward. Lastly, internal service fund. So self-insurance, right? This is our self-insurance for prescription, self-insurance for dental, and largely medical would be your dark blue line on the bottom. The graph on the bottom here shows our 10-year trend since the district has been self-insured. And you can kind of see that 2023 was like a real blip, right? It really had some high claims in 23. That dotted line shows you the average, and you can see that 24 was back to more of a average type of year. So right now, overall, the district is has $6.3 million in a reserve for self-insurance. Represents a little over 10 months worth of total reserve on hand. So it gives you a nice cushion. So if you have any of those extraordinary claims, you have a year like you did in 2023, where you need to have your stopgap insurance, but even with stopgap, you still want to make sure you have a reserve on hand, because it just takes several high claims, and all of a sudden, we start eating into that fund balance. But overall, a pretty healthy position for your internal service fund. If anybody's looking for a little light reading, key footnotes here so you can look through the report. I believe all of you did receive a PDF copy of the report that was with the board packet. The board packet report is probably about 110 pages long now. So this is why we kind of boil it down to this PowerPoint to kind of point out the particulars for everybody. So lastly, I want to talk about kind of a snapshot of the entire audit. So this is a page right out of the audit report itself, and it kind of gives you a summary of the results. So we have our unmodified opinion on both the financial statement and then the federal program. This is where we note that we tested that child nutrition cluster. But one item to note here that's been different than we've had out here at Pottsgrove in many years is that you'll see a yes check mark on the first line. So what that says is when we did our testing of internal control over financial reporting, we did have what we consider an audit finding in our testing. And I'm going to turn to the next page here and talk a little bit about what that audit finding was. When we came out to begin the audit, usually we do this audit in the fall. And as many of you know, March is a little late for us having this presentation. Usually we like to have this presentation before Christmas. I think last year was January, which is even right around where we want to be. So a little bit later this year, and a lot of that came to fruition just in our testing. We look at not just year end, but we also look at items that happen throughout the year. We want to see if there's an internal control in place to catch certain mistakes or certain events that could happen. And what we noticed was, in particular, April, May, and June of 2024, a lot of key balance sheet transactions, especially cash reconciliations, weren't being done or completed timely. Created just a little bit of a challenge getting the audit done. I will say that the interim person from MCIU that came in did a really nice job of kind of stopping the bleeding a little bit, getting things right back on track. The big thing there was identifying that you were going down a road very quickly and making a change. Sometimes a little inexperience in a position can just lead to compounding problems that just create some challenges. But a combination of the MCIU staff and then Mr. Linke coming back, working hard, got it to a point where we're still having this presentation in March, which means from a standpoint of hitting deadlines for your debt, hitting deadlines for the federal government, you're still on track to hit the deadlines that you need to hit. The one recommendation we do have here is to have Mr. Linke, now that he's back on board here, kind of looking at the policies and procedures, seeing where things are, and also taking a step back, looking at the business office personnel and just making sure we do have the right personnel. There's been a lot of turnover in the last few years here, just ins and outs, different people in different spots. So just revisiting that and making sure we have the proper closed procedures in place and that we have the right personnel to continue to move forward and continue to be a very strong district that we are. So, lastly, a couple other communications from us. PSERS payments. So one of the things that we also noticed with PSERS is the retirement system. The district pays into PSERS quarterly. So it's a quarter in arrears. So your January, February, and March payments that are due from the employer side are due June 30th. And we noticed that that payment for June 30th actually wasn't made until August and September. It actually ended up being withheld from your subsidy because it wasn't made timely. So what they do is they actually withhold it from your subsidy payments that come from the state. So just something that we have to point out as auditors because it's something that we noticed. However, I can tell that we've also caught back up. So it looks like we're back on track at this point in time, but there was a lag that was happening there. Funding source codes for grants, so you get a lot of grants, different grants, especially lately. You get some PCCD safety grants, some are state, some are federal. Just very important to use funding source codes within the GL to make sure we're tracking all those grant expenditures in one spot. One thing I know that Mr. Linke and I talked about a little bit, and I think he's going to propose to you, in the uniform guidance to the federal documentation, they increase what they consider to be equipment to a $10,000 threshold. So anything under $10,000 they consider to be supplies. However, the way the language speaks is when you do the audit for a federal program, it's the lesser of the $10,000 or your local policy. So if your policy stays at $5,000, then I have to test at $5,000 instead of looking at it at $10,000. So we're recommending everybody take a look and increase that threshold to $10,000. What costs these days, it just allows you to have a better record keeping and not worry about some of the smaller items that don't add a lot of value anyway. And lastly, just continue watching that reserve on the internal service fund side. Right now it's pretty healthy, but we want to make sure we keep that where it's a good position to protect the district when you're self-insured. Communications from us, again, no difficulties before the audit. We're still on time, a little bit later than normal, but still within the time frame that has to get things done. Just a quick comment on that. It doesn't always happen this way, right? There's a lot of times where You know, the district may have a little blip, something goes a little sideways, and we end up in a position where the district misses deadlines and has to, you know, have repercussions from that. Your district was able to recognize you fell a little behind, you make some changes, and you strengthened your business office and came back and still got things done timely. So, you know, kudos to recognizing and getting things back on track and still hitting those deadlines. You can go to the next page. I'm not going to bore you with some new statements here. Ron, Mr. Linke here will be attending. I'll be actually presenting at the School Business Officers Conference here on Thursday for one of the new standards that we'll work with your team on for compensated absences, just a different way of looking at it, and some other new accounting E's here coming up in the next few years. I know that's a lot in a very short period of time, but happy to answer any questions that you might have. If not, I just want to thank Dr. Finnerty for his communication through this process, for, you know, keeping me up to date where things were moving forward, and Mr. Linke for putting the time in to get us up to here. And I will say, when we did receive the trial balances and the information from the business office and the district, it was in good shape. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities like this where we are called on to help make some adjustments or that sense of things, but everything was reconciled when we received it, which allowed us to still be here tonight and present at this meeting. So.
Thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge Zach Trump, who served as our interim business manager, and Ron Linke, who's done an amazing job. And I know he's put in a lot of late nights and weekends work to get this through, and I really, truly appreciate all the work you've done. I know how much work that is, so thank you.
Thank you. I also want to commend the administration here for identifying this problem with the account reconciliation as quickly as they did, for taking action as quickly as they did. I want to thank our business office staff for the extra hours they put in to correct this situation. I want to thank Ron for choosing to come back to Pottsgrove to help us with this situation. And while it's probably a problem that should not have happened, it did. We took immediate action, and most importantly, administration kept this board timely informed about everything that was going on, the problems we had, the action that was taken, and what we were doing to correct the situation. I don't know if others want to say anything about that, but I for one, felt totally informed about the issues we had, what we were doing about it, and what we were doing to make sure it wouldn't happen again. Any other comments?
I would just like to say, moving forward, I feel so confident now. It's like, whew, but thank you for all you do.
It's nice that it's not the auditors who identified this problem. It's the district that identified it prior to the auditors coming in.
One last comment. I do want to thank you, Chris. You turned the audit around very quickly, and appreciate your team and how much work you did to help us meet our deadlines. So thank you.
Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
Are you going solo?
It would appear so.
She wasn't here. I thought I saw her.
She's cheerleading for the basketball team right now, I believe.
So it moves us to one of our younger board members, Adam, our student representative on the board for the March student report.
Yeah.
And Cecilia would be here. She's at cheerleading.
Yeah, she's cheerleading right now. So
Adam?
I'm running solo, part 2. Okay, so our prom tickets have gone on sale last Wednesday. They're selling for $85 a ticket, and it includes our post-prom to Bolero. So included in our post-prom is 2 hours of bowling and shoes, an arcade card, foods and drinks, and raffle prizes. So it'll be exciting. There were 2 Doom Dome tournaments. There's one being held by Avidum in the high school on March 27th from 6 o'clock to 8:30. It is $5 to play and $2 to spectate. This is a fundraiser event meant to raise awareness and provide support to improve mental health and other issues facing teens. So I'd like to shout out Ms. Burwager and Mr. Desiderio. So thank you guys for running that. And then also at Lower Pottsgrove, we were running our Doom Dome tournament, which took place on the 22nd of February. And yeah, it's basically the same thing. And then we have our Keep It Safe Prom Edition. So this is a chance to win a free prom ticket. These are online Zoom sessions on underage drinking prevention to teach teens the dangers of drinking. By participating in these Zoom sessions, you have the chance at winning free admission to prom and post-prom. And I believe there's 3 tickets, and they just set up a new meeting for next week. There's one right now, I believe, also. Reading Across America took place on Wednesday, March 5th at Ringing Rocks, Lower Pottsgrove Elementary, and West Pottsgrove Elementary. Our student athletes, including the varsity cheerleaders, boys and girls basketball, and the football team, attended these schools and read some of their favorite childhood stories. Children were able to ask questions about high school life and engage with the text that was being read to them. This was a wonderful tradition, and Cecilia wrote this. This is a wonderful tradition that should definitely be cherished. So she was there. She definitely enjoyed it. Ringing Rocks students have been working hard on the Ringing Rocks Farmers Market and have been able to spread joy by serving the staff, students, and law enforcement partners with delicious treats such as donuts and hot chocolate. So that's been neat. The boys basketball team has been doing really good. They competed in the PIAA state playoffs at home on Friday, March 7th against the Pittston Patriots in the first round of the state tournament. The first 100 attendees got the opportunity to get a free t-shirt. And then I'd like to congratulate our Pottsgrove swimmers as well for qualifying for the PIAA state championships at Bucknell University on March 12th and 13th. These swimmers included Colby Richard, Olivia Chapman, Elsa Lucas, and Abigail Bolding, who will be participating in the 200 medley. Elsa will also be participating in the breaststroke. Best of luck, girls. The high school theater company is presenting our Fiddler on the Roof, and we just saw them. They did a really great job today in our second period, I think it was. So shout out them. Through March 20th and March 22nd, you can go see them. To get your tickets, you will need to click the link in the bio of the Instagram page, PGHS Theater, that is labeled Tickets. Tickets cost $5 for children under 4, $10 for general admission, and $8 for Pottsgrove students and staff. Additionally, lucky ticket number 750 will receive a free concession voucher. The middle school theater company presents the spring musical Seussical the Musical Junior. Through March 27th to 29th, the performance will begin at 7 p.m. and conclude around 9. Come to support your young artists. And then March Madness is here. Just yesterday, I believe, I was talking to a representative from the Elmwood Zoo to start volunteering there this summer, so I'm excited about that. But it allows Pottsgrove High School students the opportunity to meet colleges and employers that they may be interested in going to in the near future. There are flyers placed in every classroom with a QR code consisting of all the information of the colleges and employers, and in the science wing, not the 100 wing, there's a whole poster on Mr. Resuage's lab that is every college and all the dates. So it's been very organized, and we've all been doing great with it. So it's installing constant energy, and a lot of students have been going, so it's been great. And then we had our annual NHS volleyball tournament just a few days ago on February 28th. We raised $360 from team registrations and $236 from concessions and spectators. And this is the most that we've ever made since COVID, so it's looking pretty good. These profits will be donated to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Our SATs are also set for tomorrow, so I've been studying up, and yeah, good luck to everyone taking the SAT. And then finally, our child development students have received their babies for this month. They're learning important skills about raising children, feeding and comforting them, and how to determine what the child wants. And so it's been a very active month since our last meeting. So, yeah.
Thank you, Adam. Any questions of Adam?
How's debate team going?
It's going pretty good. About half of our team is kind of like in the play and track, so it's been a little lower. So you might see us in the yearbook. We only had 4 people for our last meeting, but it's been fun still. It's still enjoyable. Yeah.
This moves us to agenda item number 5, report from our superintendent, Dr. Finnerty.
Okay, just a quick shout out. Our boys are playing tonight down in Norristown, so I'm wishing them well. We've already heard from our musical. I'm very excited about that. To reinforce what Adam said, this is the second year of the College Career Fair. I want to thank Ms. Ebert for her hard work in organizing this. It was a tremendous success last year, and I've been able to pop in a little bit and see the excitement. So thank you for that. I do have one other piece that I'd like to share. On Wednesday, March 26th at 6 p.m. to 7:30 at the high school library, we are hosting an IEP and 504 101 panel. This is an informational session for all parents who have students with IEPs or 504 needs. It's hosted by our Pottsgrove Village and our own Dr. Lucas. So it's a great event. It'll help you understand the supports that are available to you and how to navigate the IEP and 504 process. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Finnerty. Any questions of Dr. Finnerty? Moves us to agenda item 6, approval of the monthly board action minutes for February 11 and 25. Number 6.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the minutes 6-1 and 6-2.
We have a motion and a second to approve the monthly board action minutes of February 11 and February 25. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item number 7, granting of orders for February and March.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the payment of invoices for February 2025 in the amount of $799,137.80 as presented.
Motion and a second to approve 7-1, granting of orders for February 2025. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Granting of orders for March of 2025.
I'd like to make a motion we approve the payment of invoices for March 12th, 2025 in the amount of $964,394.47.
Motion and a second to approve the invoices for March 12 of 2025. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item number 8, personnel.
I'd like to make a motion under action items personnel, we approve 8.1 through 8.11.
We have a motion and a second to approve personnel items 8.1 through 8.11. Any discussion on any of these items? Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item number 9, action items, business.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve 9.1, the contract with Energy Tax Services.
We have a motion and a second to approve agenda item 9.1, contract with Energy Tax Services. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 9.2, confidential settlement agreement for a student.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve 9.2.
Motion and a second to approve 9.2, the confidential settlement agreement for one student. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 9.3, audit acceptance from the audit report we just heard.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the audit for 2023-24 school year as presented.
Motion and a second to approve the audit for the 2023-24 school year. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 10.2, conference attendance.
I'd like to make a motion under action items education, we approve 10.1 through 10.4.
Thank you. I said 10.2. I should have started with 10.1. So we have a motion and a second to approve action items 10.1 through 10.4. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Action item 11, policies.
I'd like to make a motion, the approval of policies and approve 11.1.
Motion and a second to approve 11.1, approval of policies. There were 3 here: organization, school wellness, and opioid antagonist. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item number 12, Montgomery County Intermediate Unit Board Update. Neek.
I had emailed Christine earlier today to table it.
So the report was emailed to everyone? All right, so the report's been emailed?
I emailed Christine to table it.
Oh,
We'll bring it up next meeting.
gotcha. So the report has been tabled. Agenda item 12.1 is tabled until next meeting. Thank you. Moves us to agenda item 13, report of the Western Montgomery Technical Center Joint Operating Committee. The Western Montgomery Career and Technology Center Joint Operating Committee met on Monday, March 3rd at 7 p.m. There were 2 presentations that were given at the beginning of the meeting. First presentation was about Skills USA district competitions. The Western Center hosted the Skills competition on Tuesday and Wednesday, February 4 and 5, with 6 career and technology centers and 2 school districts participating. There were, of all the students participating, there were 28 students from the Technical Center who received awards. The awards are given at the gold, the silver, and the bronze levels. These 28 students included 3 students from Pottsgrove, who we'd like to give a shout out to. Lily Townsend, who is a junior, is enrolled in health sciences at the Technical Center and received a gold award in nursing assisting. Shauna Curlin, who's also a junior in Pottsgrove, in the welding technology program at the Technical Center, received a gold award in welding fabrication. And Logan Albright, who is a senior at Pottsgrove, is enrolled in welding technology and received a bronze award in welding. The 2 gold award winners, Lily and Shauna, will compete in the Pennsylvania state competitions for Skills USA that are being held yesterday and today, March 10 and 11. I do not have any word yet on how they did, but they are there. Second presentation was on a goals update for the Western Center. There are 2 basic goals: expand the student population at the Western Center and establish a capital improvement fund. Regarding the expansion of the student population, the Administrative Director, Dave Livingood, informed us that he had a meeting with, formed a staff goals and vision committee to explore the expansion of programs at the Western Center by adding instructors. He also met on Thursday, March 6th, with Gilbert Architects to discuss a feasibility study for expanding the Western Center, which would be more of a brick and mortar expansion. I do not have an update on how that meeting went, but that happened on March 6th. Mr. Livingood also said he will include us on his monthly updates for the expansion plans and new program considerations. The second goal was establish a capital improvement fund. Mr. Livingood said he is developing recommendations for changing the articles of agreement, which would allow us to have a capital fund. And lastly, in terms of the 2 goals, Mr. Livingood said he'd prepare a final goal presentation for either May and or the June Joint Operating Committee or JOC meeting. Second part of the agenda was administrative reports from the Western Center. Mr. Livingood reported that Pennsylvania State Representative Donna Schrewen spent 4 hours touring the Western Center on Friday, February 28th. He also
announced that he was recently appointed to the Montgomery County Workforce Development Board. If you look for it online, it's called Montco Works. He is the first career and technology director to be appointed to the board. That board actually collects data from the county about job availability and job demand from high-paying jobs so that the Western Center can continue to shape its curriculum to meet the demands of the community that it serves. The Western Center was recently featured in the February 2025 edition of the American Welding Society Journal regarding a donation they received for the purchase of a new welding generator. Save the date notices, each board member should have gotten them. There is an April 9 co-op luncheon from 12 to 1:30. Were sent by email on March 4 to all of us here and from all the other school directors from the other two sending districts for the Western Center. We will also get invitations by mail. I encourage you to go there. You'll get to meet some of the students as well as some of the staff from organizations that we are doing co-op programs with, and you'll get to see, so they try and give the students or they give the students a real-world representation, so it's not just classroom learning, but they're applying that in businesses. The principal of the Western Center, Craig Robinson, reported that 115 sixth graders attended a program called Skills Over Stereotypes, which they call it that because we have female welders, we have males that are in nursing. It's more about the skill than about the gender of the individual. 115 sixth graders attended the event that was held on Wednesday, February 26th. The Western Center currently has 40 students on co-op assignments and 5 students shadowing in the workplace. An odd wording, but there are some programs there that you are not certified to do work. One, for instance, would be sports medicine. You really don't pick up a certification, so you can't do the work of a physical therapist, but you get to shadow physical therapists and people like that, which is what's meant there by shadowing in the workplace. Currently, the Western Center has 280 applicants for next year. There are 190 seats available, so another way of saying that, this is an acceptance rate of 68%, which is one of the drivers for our push, especially this district, to try and open more seats at the Western Center, because as applications go up, that percentage of the acceptance rate is going to go down unless we can take more people. Deadline for applications for next year is April 15. Superintendent of Record, Mr. Robert Rizzo, who is from Springford, reported that he's excited about the ideas that are going on now for expansion of the Western Center, and he's beginning to see movement there, which is a good thing. The Policy Committee presented the second reading of 16 policies. I have them listed there. I'm not going to go over the list of the 16, and they also did a second reading of 12 policies, which are also listed there on my report. Financial part of the meeting, there was a question raised concerning an expenditure that was in February for a little over $16,000 to Pico Energy for natural gas, which is about $15,000 more than they usually spend per month. The administrative director said it was due to a 2-day deadline the center was given for converting the Western Center boilers from natural gas to diesel fuel. And we charged Mr. Levengood with investigating that high utility bill, consulting with legal counsel regarding the changes, and see if anything can be done to get them to pick up that cost because of the deadline they gave us. The Western Center budget of $9,175,601 was approved. This budget represents a 6.55% increase over 24-25. When you look at that total increase, the share that the districts pay is based on an average daily membership or number of students we have going, and that is further reduced by grants and things that come in. So when you say, what does that mean for Pottsgrove? So while the budget increase is 6.55%, Pottsgrove's share is $1,644,376, which is an increase of 1.95%, or $31,773 over 24-25. I have the figures if anyone is interested in seeing it for the other two districts. One went down, actually. Springford and Perk Valley went up just under 10% for the up. So our increase is 1.95% year over year. MVA Tax Advisors was approved to perform the local audit for the Western Center and prepare the annual financial report for a fiscal year ending June 30, 2025. Two other action items, the JOC approved the purchase of the TWG security system for classrooms at a cost of $463,751, and a grant covers $450,000 of that cost. Lastly, the JOC also approved the purchase of a robotic welder for $132,170, and $85,000 of this cost comes from a competitive grant, with $47,170 paid from budgeted equipment funds. Editorial comment, Mr. Livingood seems to be quite skillful at getting grant money for the Western Center, and was commended for what he's doing. It's a knack that the guy has, so they can bring this new equipment into the center. Next meeting is Monday, April 7. Chuck, I do not believe you were at the last meeting. Patty was. What's that? Oh, yeah, sorry, thank you. That April 7 meeting is by Zoom. Patty or Chuck, any comments? Board members, any questions on anything about the meeting? Okay, thank you. That moves us to agenda item 14, committee items, the Operations Finance Committee minutes, 14-1.
I'd like to make a motion to combine the minutes 14.1 Operation Finance along with 14.2 Curriculum, Instruction, and Technology.
Have a motion and a second to approve agenda items 14-1 Operations Finance Committee meetings and the CIT Curriculum, Instruction, Technology Committee meetings. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 14.3, Policy Committee meeting report of February 25.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So we had our policy committee meeting last month, February 25th. We talked about 4 policies. The first 3 policies are actually one all in 3 because it is our Family and Medical Leave Act. There are 3 policies because they all govern the administrators, the professional staff, and classified staff. We looked at those 3 policies. They hadn't been looked at some time, and our HR department, we just wanted to update with current language and things that we currently have in practice as it applies to those policies. So those 3 were moved on for 30-day review by the public. The 4th policy we looked at is Policy 882, the Public Access Defibrillation Program, or the automated external defibrillators that we have here in the buildings to save lives, really. We looked at this policy because we recently got a grant and we added additional units to the schools, and it hasn't been looked at in some time, this policy. So we looked at it, and we also have more changes to make into the next committee meeting. So we kind of tabled putting it for 30-day. There's revision we wanted to make sure we were very clear in our language about education and awareness of the units so that people know how to use them, where to access them, since they really do save lives. I actually have a meeting this week with Children's Hospital of Philadelphia with one of the nurses there, and we're talking more about what this looks like here in the district so we make sure people know where they are and use them. And that was the 4 policies that we looked at for Policy Committee last month. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Lucas. Moves us to agenda item 15, new business. Dr. Nippert? Any new business? Tanya. I called you Tina the other night. I'm sorry. Tanya, new business. Other than I should get your name right. Anik.
I just wanted to say, to add, for the IEP 504-101 panel event, it's going to be a great informational session, but also we're going to have breakout sessions for families to ask questions and really discuss things. So it's going to be pretty collaborative. I think it's pretty cool. That's it.
Thank you, Anik. Patty?
Well, I just have to give a shout out to the boys basketball team because I've been around a long time and I try to get to as many events as I can. So last Friday when I went, it was just on fire. You have the cheerleaders stomping, you have just fans, and the most important thing I took about home was the sportsmanship we have here at Pottsgrove. We should really be proud because we were really winning by a lot, and both teams basically said, let's bring our secondaries in. And it was just melted me to see the sportsmanship. So not only did they win, they're winning. They're winning. So right now, I think we're down by 3, so, but that's all. Congratulations to the boys basketball.
Thank you, Patty. Bill? This past Friday, March 7, several of us had a Zoom conference call with State Representative Joe Cerisi regarding the potential dismantling of the Federal Department of Education. And Representative Cerisi was very interested in knowing what impact that would have on the districts. He met with representatives from Pottsgrove, and on that call were Dr. Finnerty, Bill Thompson, myself, and also Ron Linke. Thank you. I blanked on that. There were also representatives from the Pottstown School District, and because of timing and date, a separate call is being set up with Springford School District. Representative Cerisi basically had no information to give us. He said he was not sure what was going to happen, but as he should be doing, he was collecting impact information on if something happened at the federal level of the Department of Education, what would be the impact on the 3 districts. Dr. Finnerty, do you want to say more about that or impact and anything else you have for new business?
Thank you. The amount of federal funds received by the district are significant. We're funded more by state and local, but the federal funds are significant, and we use those funds to fund important programs. So we're all in a wait-and-see kind of stance to see what's going to happen, and at this point, that's all we can do. So it's good to see that our representative was taking a proactive approach. I'm hopeful that we'll get clarity on what it's going to look like as we navigate through this budget season.
Thank you. Any other new business? No, sir. Thank you, Dr. Finnerty. Ashley?
I came across something on social media today that says the USDA cut over $1 billion in funding for schools and school lunches. Free school lunches. Again, I think we're in the same position that we were in for the defunding and shutting down the Federal Department of Education. I have no idea if this affects us, would affect us. I was reading through it. It was from Reuters. I read through it, briefly, and it's a little vague. But I just want to say that if it would affect us, and it would possibly keep us from continuing to offer the free lunches and breakfast to our students, I would hope that we would do anything within our power as a board to keep that program in place. If it means, digging deep into pockets somewhere, I would hope that we can at least consider that, if it would come to that, because I stand by that program a great deal. I just think it's fantastic, and I don't know why it hasn't been happening for years, honestly. So, anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Ashley. Jim, new business? Thank you. Louis? Adam, anything else? You sure?
I've been working on my jewelry making a little bit recently, so hold on. I made this guy just a little bit ago. It's a hanging head, but yeah, solid pewter. It's pretty neat. I enjoy it.
Handmade or machine made?
Both.
What kind of machine?
I use a resin printer. So I 3D model it, and then I cast it, and then I'll fix it around with my
So those in the audience and anyone listening, just see Adam after the meeting. If you'd like to get jewelry gifts for your friends and loved ones, he can do that. Moves us, thank you, Adam. Moves us to agenda item 15, new business. This can be,
Public comment.
oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Moves us to agenda item 16, public comment. We do have Joe Sombers, am I saying that correctly? Joe and Corey Sombers. Would you like to come up, please, and use the microphone here? Corey, is that correct? Yes. We just, if you take a seat, and there's a button there to push to turn the microphone on, so anyone online can hear you also. We just ask that you give your name, the township you're from, and we try and limit the comments to about 2 minutes.
Sure.
If you would, all right? Thank you.
My name is Corey Sombers. We live in West Pottsgrove. We have a child that attends West Pottsgrove Elementary and the middle school. So we do have a concern with the bus company that we feel is important for you guys to be aware of. Sorry, I'm extremely nervous, so I apologize. On January 21st, it was a bad weather day. It was probably, I don't know, maybe 10 degrees. My son was standing in the doorway, so we're about 10 feet from the house to the road where the bus is supposed to pick him up. So he was standing in the doorway because it had been that bad weather day. The bus driver wrote him up. We got a write-up. We got a call from the dean of students, letting us know that our son had a write-up. We looked into it, and on the write-up, she wrote that she had to stop the bus once, wait for him because he wasn't there, and then continue to go. She saw him. She said she had to slam on the brakes, almost causing an accident. So, and then when my son got on the bus, who has autism, anxiety disorder, and things along those lines, she then yelled at him for not being prepared to be on the bus. Now, mind you, he was outside. He was on the porch. She just doesn't typically stop. This has been an ongoing issue since the beginning of the year with them. She picks up on the wrong side of the road. If anybody knows Farmington Ave, there's a curve, cars fly. The school bus company said, we'll do our best to try to pick them up right in front of your house. Not a problem. We go outside. We try to accommodate, understanding that things happen. We spoke with the dean of students, and it was founded that this was false. He reviewed the video. This did not happen. But yet, in that time from January 21st to February 4th, when we found out that it was false, the bus driver continued to make comments to my son. So much so that one of us had to leave our job to be able to start transporting him if she didn't stop because of his anxiety about what's she going to say the next day. A few days later, I think it was like 2 degrees outside that day. I can get you the dates and times if you need that. Again, he was at the doorway. She drove and then didn't fully stop again. He came running out. Again, we're about 10 feet. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. We're not holding up traffic. She says to him, you need to be outside. Now, mind you, he gets outside at 7:30 in the morning. The bus is supposed to be there anytime from 7:35 to 7:42. The bus doesn't typically arrive. Sometimes 7:35 to 7:42. Recently, it's been almost 7:46, 7:50. So you expect my child to stand outside from 7:30 to 7:50 when we're not sure if you're going to arrive, because there have been times that you guys haven't picked up my child because she assumes that he's not coming because maybe he didn't get on the bus for a few days at a time. That's our personal business, has nothing to do with her. Her job is to pick him up. So our concern is that she still continues as of the beginning of March to say something to my child that is inappropriate about him not being ready for her, or just a comment that makes him feel uncomfortable. The fact that they have missed pickup and the bus company refuses to just even acknowledge it. But I will say the dean of students, Pottsgrove School District, has done a really good job, but it's very concerning. Even yesterday, there was a big incident on the bus. Had nothing to do with my child, but I do know they called the police. They had to escort children off. I just feel like there's a lot going on in this bus, and this bus driver might be not the best fit for somebody that represents and drives children in your school district. So we want to share that because it's disheartening.
Corey, thank you for sharing that. Your concern shows even through your nervousness, which is understandable. The board typically, we do not respond because you get 9 different responses, but your comments are noted by all of the board and especially by the administration. It looks like you want to say something.
Yeah, thank you for coming out and sharing that. What I'd like to do, if it's possible, is I'd like to have our facilities director, who heads up our transportation team, reach out to you and get more details and see if we can look into what's going on.
What's his name?
Casey Blankenbiller.
Okay, he does have an email from us.
Oh, I'm sorry?
He does have an email from us.
Okay, all right. So we'll follow up tomorrow and,
No problem.
okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else for public comment in the room? Can be on any agenda item.
Just a one quick comment. And this, I won't take much time. I want to talk about the singers who were here in the play. Because Fiddler on the Roof, and my comment is, it was my first Broadway show that I took a date to. And Fiddler on the Roof is an extremely difficult play because it's not the typical musical. It's very serious, and it's based on a series of short stories that are key to Jewish literature. The kids took on, the kiddos took on a big slice of life dealing with this, and especially right now. And I wish them a lot of success, because this is not the typical high school drama. And they need a lot of support. So, like I say, my only criticism here, Jay, is you upset me when you said it was an old play. And I remember seeing it in 1967 with Herschel Bernardi as Tevye.
And I don't have the date, but I was reading about it. As I said, I saw Act One yesterday. I was reading about it online, and I think it even started earlier than that. Do you know who the original
I don't
father
know who
was?
the original Tevye was, but Herschel Bernardi was doing it when I saw it in the late 60s.
I wanted to say who the original was, and I think I'm wrong in saying that. I had looked it up. So, yes.
He was the guy who played the giant in Green Giant with, he had a deep baritone and went the ho, ho, ho.
But thank you, Chuck. I absolutely agree with you. I watched it. It was different than anything I've seen. There was, even with the students who are in it, and I know some of the students, there was talk about why are we doing this. There's a lot you can learn from this play. It's not just a musical. It's a serious story.
This is not your typical musical. This is not, you know, Beauty and the Beast or something like that. This is hard stuff.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. Any other comments or anything online? Thank you. That moves us to agenda item 17, adjournment. Motion second to adjourn. Meeting is adjourned.